Hello everybody, your Realm Builder Guy here, and welcome back to Crusader Kings 3 and the life of Richard the Lionheart. Well, I had previously recorded a couple of episodes, but the audio file unfortunately got corrupted. So I'm going to do a little recap here of what 2 episodes look like, pretty truncated, so please stand with me. So, obviously in the last episode, we got into a war to help out France. Had a new son born, Robert, and that made Richard exceptionally happy, while he continued to grow as a leader in his martial prowess. Turning his attention back to France, it was a, relatively quick war to defeat the forces of Toulouse, combined with his, let's say, very good friend and lover and confidant, King Philippe of France. With that out of the way, Richard decided to continue to find claims in Wales and expand there. He pressed claims for one of his vassals, and after a pretty brief war, was able to claim an additional province. His bishop, in the meantime, continued to find new documents that would give him claims over the rest of Wales as well. Trying to solidify his alliances, he then married his daughter off to the new King of Scotland. Unfortunately, his son Robert died, which sent Richard into a mental breakdown and to the drink. Now, further claims were found, and as such, it was time for war in Wales with Gwynedd. However, some new tidbits came out about the Queen Agnes that we will get into here. In fact, there is a suspicion and some rumors that she was having an affair with one of his vassals. At the same time, Richard had to deal with becoming sick. He is getting older. But the war in Wales had to continue, and it continued rather successfully, as one sees, quickly defeating the Welsh armies. But unfortunately, after the birth of a child, it seemed pretty evident that it was not his, and in fact, confronting his wife Agnes, she revealed the truth that she had, in fact, an affair with one of his vassals, and that new child was not Richard. However, Richard decided, you know what, let's focus just on the campaign in Wales for now, and we will deal with our wife if and when we have to. After a short campaign in England expanding its territories, well, it was time to continue looking for new claims for Richard to win over the rest of Wales. Getting over his ailment, then, he turned his attention to France, where a new king had come to the throne. Philippe had passed, and he was also dealing with the Duke of Orleans. France, at this time, was falling into massive internal turmoil. Politicking, the Duke of Orleans being the major threat to the interests there. Then a revolt happened in France itself, which Richard had to deal with, calling in his allies of the current new-ish King of France, King Henri, as well as the King of Scotland. But this rebellion was relatively short-lived. After some swift battle victories in the field, the rebels soon lost much of their mettle, and a few changes internally also led to the fact that actually it became an invalidated claim. Richard then, seeing what the issue was in France, knew that there were problems brewing, and in fact, it came to be. The King of France called upon Richard to aid him in the revolt against from the Duke of Orleans. Of course, Richard mustered his forces and moved in. Whilst at the meantime, new claims came to the forefront in Wales. So that is something for the future that Richard would keep in mind. But first and foremost, he had to deal with the issue in France. After some quick victories, though, a foreign host joined the Duke of Orleans' siege of Paris, and Richard was forced to retreat a little bit. And sure enough, a new king came, a child king. Henri III became king, and this is when things became interesting for Richard the Lionheart, since, well, a weak, young child, and I believe also frail king is on the throne without allies, and he did not get rid of his adulterous wife, who has claims on France. And this was the moment that Richard struck and declared war on France, calling in his Spanish and Scottish allies. He took to the field, hired some mercenaries to strengthen his forces, and marched north to confront the French forces south of Rouen, and took to battle in what turned out to be a relatively one-sided victory, because the French were also dealing with an internal revolt from the Duke of Flanders. This played to Richard's strength. He then moved on Paris and began the siege of the capital of France in Paris. And this now, my friends, is where the story continues. And will Richard the Lionheart become also the King of France, or better said, gobble up France for his wife's claims? So here we are. Now it's getting into the meat of the actual episode. I apologize for basically robbing you guys of 2 full episodes because of that screw up with the audio file. I didn't realize it until I went into editing, and in fact, it actually worked perfectly till after about 10 minutes of recording on one of them. And so I had to take 2 hours of gameplay footage, and I basically edited it down to 5 minutes and put over some voiceover. I do have a question that I will be posing to you all at the end of the episode, but if you wouldn't mind in the meantime hitting like, because, well, not to sound whiny, but it would really make me feel better about essentially losing 2 episodes. So anyway, and in general, just let me know what you thought about that kind of recap, if that's something you wouldn't mind seeing more of in the future. But as you saw in that little recap, Richard is at war with France and is actually at the gates of Paris. We've got 5 months here in the siege of Paris, and I will unpause the game immediately. We will now see what transpires, how our allies react. We can see the French army is dealing up north here with the rebel army from Flanders. Cecilia has now come of age. I am so proud to see my daughter no longer as a child, but as an adult. Despite being a curious child, eager to learn, Cecilia's attention... Oh yeah, by the way, she is a leper. That happened. Sorry. In one of those episodes, I believe. The pursuit of knowledge never seemed to properly fasten root in her mind, and now time spent among books and tomes seems to be more of a chore for her than a joy. I mean, there is one thing in general. The general theme in CK3 is everyone is unhappy with their children. All right, here comes the Aragonese army coming up from the south. The nice thing is, given this internal revolt that the French are dealing with, it is completely occupying the French army away from Paris. But even then, I mean, our force is overwhelmingly powerful. I'm curious if we do win this and possibly capture France, what that will then mean. So the siege of Paris is won. Now I'm going to hit pause and kind of see where we want to go from here. I believe what we will do is we will send our army just kind of a conquering here through the different provinces and take everything we want. We can see that the Aragonese are doing the same here. If the French army turns back to try to reconquer Paris, well, then we'll just defeat them in the field. That could actually be, in general, what we want to do, but right now it is not really something I'm overly concerned with, given that they are dealing with this revolt or rebellion internally. We have now the Breton Catholic populists have gone. Alliance Forum, Henri de Blois. And he is now the new target. Our new opponent. Nothing in this world is certain, especially in times of war. The English war for Queen Agnes' claim on the Kingdom of France has been no different. As this conflict is no longer against Duke Henri of Paris, but my nephew, King Henri, instead. It might be wise to reevaluate the situation. Well, let's take a look at him. He's allied with us, so that kind of makes things weird. He has a truce with Prince Louis of France, who is, of course... I mean, we were on the same side. France is tumultuous, but we will continue on with this. He's essentially completely alone, and he is raising his army right there. We will win this, or the siege, in a few days, and then we can go and destroy the French army. Strategical impasse. Let me get rid of that. I am sitting around the map table with Duke Amaury and Duke Roger discussing our strategy for the ongoing war. Amaury eagerly points out all of the prime targets we should immediately send raiding parties to pillage, while Roger sits back and patiently advocates for us to secure critical locations and wait for the enemy to come to us instead. It is my right to decide what we do. So, I know how we can employ both strategies. So that means we get improved. If it would just stick, it won't. Anyway, improved pillaging and improved defense. I think we will do that, the more diplomatic option. So as that French army is still coming together, we are just about ready to deploy towards them and ideally crush the field. We can see here a Scottish army has landed and they are marching in as well. And they coming to the field. I mean, this should be a war won for us. All right, so we've won that siege, and we are now going to take that army and try to engage the French in the field with overwhelming force, which will. King Henri II of France is in command, and we have taken him captive, and we will now enforce the demands. So be it. So an alliance is formed. Queen Agnes is now, Queen of France. So this is how this all operates now. So our wife is Queen of France. We now naturally have an alliance with Queen Agnes of France. We also have Scotland and a few other ones here as well. York and Aragon. But now this falls not to us in England, but it falls under our, let's say, influence, our auspices, in the sense of our wife is now in control here. So our betrothed can finally marry, and we will send the proposal. So that is done. The King of Scotland is now married to our leper daughter. We can see up here, is Scotland at war? No, it looks like it is more of an internal war. Moray is invading the Norwegian territories in the north of Scotland, which does definitely benefit us. Now we can take a look over here to Wales in the meantime. Let's see, we've got a few people we can ransom. Let me do that real quick. So an interesting thing here, if our wife dies, then Richard the Lionheart is first in line to claim the Kingdom of France, which is very interesting. We can also declare the Kingdom of Wales. Now, if we look over here in decisions, forming a new empire, we don't have the money, and we don't have the prestige. And our realm size is missing by 9. So we still have a little bit to go before we can do that. But it's definitely on the to-do list. Now let's look here to Wales. We can declare war here. for our claims, which is currently just that. I don't want to do that yet. We are close to getting the claim on Dyfed, at which point, of course, then we would be in a position to declare a de jure war for the rest of their holdings, like we will do here with what used to be Gwynedd in 1214. So relatively soon, we will be able to probably just steamroll Wales and bring it into the fold of England. And there we have it. We now have Richard is the rightful lord of the lordship of Dyfed. So we have that done. We'll hit pause here real quickly. The Isle of Man, the Kingdom of Man. Let's see, we don't have any reason to go to war there. He is allied with Scotland. Well, we don't want to draw in the Scots for a war over the Isle of Man. If anything, we will go after the Scottish in their own right. Let's take a quick look here in Ireland. So Connacht, they are on their own. And it looks like almost everybody is on their own. There is a northern alliance here that I'm not overly concerned with. We do have our own, or some claims that we can press for our vassals, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, of course, we are going to send our court chaplain out here, and we will go for Athlone, and just slowly but surely start fabricating claims in Ireland while we are at it. I'm no longer concerned with France. That is somebody else's problem. We could look down here possibly for expansion, but my eyes are purely set for expansion here. We're going to wait. I will wait until after winter has come and gone, and then we will look at going to war and conquering the sliver here. We do have a lifestyle perk here. We will go with envelopment, so our men-at-arms counter efficiency goes up by 25%. And then sappers is next. We will be working towards there. So it is now June of 1214, and it is time for our summer campaigning in Wales. We are now very close. I think it's the 4th of June. If memory serves me, we have a truce until the 4th of June. And then we can declare war for the rest of what was Gwynedd. But for right now, we will go after this region right here. All right, we will press our claims for this, and then we will eventually get that claim here as well. Just give it some time. I mean, small little slivers could theoretically have another claim brought in here, but I'd rather start working on Ireland, have a truce with him, kind of let that, cool off, whilst we start building our claims in Ireland. That's just a personal tactic. Some people prefer to just go for everything, but I'm trying to spread it out just a little bit. But let's go to war. So the strategy here is we have two armies again. We've done this before. We have an army here that's going after the siege. If we look here, this is our commander here is Count Guillaume of the Auvergne, and he has our siege weapons, the trebuchets, whereas this army here, led by Richard himself, does not have the siege equipment. They're purely meant to chase down that army right there and try to force a definitive battle against them and wipe them out in the meantime. And if we do get to that point, here we go, here's the battle, and actually the prince is commanding the army himself. But we are already at 50% war score. We absolutely wiped out that army, and then we will be sending Richard's army down south as well. After my army sets up camp, I hear a commotion coming from my knight's lodgings. Investigating the disturbance, I find Earl William and Viscount Ible in the middle of a heated argument while several onlookers edge them on. Deliver a speech about unity of the crowd, Have them whipped for their delinquency. Saw this, I'm going to my tent and have a drink. No. Unity, we get a 43% chance that we gain 150 prestige. And both of them gain opinion of us by 20 and 100 martial experience. Otherwise, we'll see. Resolution. I get up and deliver a speech about how we are all fighting for the Kingdom of England, and we must stand united against our foes, for if we don't, there are many outsiders who would take advantage of our internal squabbles to seize our lands and impose their rule on us. Looking abashed, Earl William and Viscount Eblé apologize and get ready to settle in for the night. We're stronger when we stand together. Fantastic. Okay. We could invite some knights. Not going to do that right now. I think other than that, we are good to go. We'll send Richard's army down south as well to unite with the sieging army here. And that way, that'll kind of speed up the entire process quite a bit. A call to war to the handsome King Richard. I call on you to honor our alliance and join me in the war for Henri's claim on the Kingdom of France. Ah, okay, so the one that we kicked out is trying to kick our wife out. So we will accept this. We're just going to wait for this to be done, which it will be here shortly. All right, the siege is won, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. We do need to siege down one more, so we will just send our army over here and take hold of that. And that will be done here in just a few months. In the meantime, let's take a look at the situation in France. So there are quite a few in this. Formed a new alliance with Duke André. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. We will win this one relatively quickly. So just keep an eye on the situation in France, but right now we are focusing just here on the situation in Wales. This will be a quick victory for us as well. And there we go. So that is done. Enforce the demands, so be it. Okay, so now we've expanded there. Now we can move our forces down here to France. Hitting pause real quick. Taking stock of the situation. We have some armies here. So we're going to move Richard's army and land here. The Earldom of Athlone. We now have a claim on it, but there was also another little bit of news. In fact, our daughter is no longer married to the King of Scotland. That was like a little bit of a news tidbit here, which was very, very interesting. The need to tell. My secrets are uncomfortable burdens I could never put down, but if I just shared them with someone, they might be lighter to carry. I feel certain that Queen Mother Joan would understand me. All right, that reduces our stress. Pretty soon, Richard's army will be landing in France, and we will go to campaigning. So they have chosen the fight. We will be losing... Uh-oh. Richard got wounded in battle and immediately lost the wounded trait because we have an awesome physician. Perfect. Now we're going to siege this back and then go hunting. So the Plantagenet dynasty is known far and wide. Fantastic. So the siege is won. That is ours. And now we will move the troops here and see if we can engage the enemy in the field and continuously destroy them where we find them. Let's go into this battle right here, which we will also quite handily and easily win. So that is done. And a call to war. Alliance for the Liberty War for Flanders is Infanta of Portugal. We will accept that. We're in conversation. During a recent visit, I spent some time speaking with Duke Hector Stewart, Duchess Pernet. I had previously held Hector in quite high regard, but what she told me paints him as a disappointment. Interesting. Okay. So now we will take a look, and I believe, let's take a look. The war leader is down here in the Duchy of the Champagne. So a little bit of champagne, and we will siege down that. When we get done with that, we will turn our forces to the north, because that is really where the bulk of, well, everybody is. Start wiping them out in the meantime as well. Henry comes of age with sufficient tutelage. Even a child that has displayed little natural inclination towards diplomatic influence, such as Henry, can come to truly understand it. With an excellent grasp of all manners of etiquette, understanding of all kinds of entertainment, and the eloquence to go with it, he will have little trouble navigating a life at court. So the mercenary companies have been dismissed. Our heir is unmarried, so we will need to find him a suitable bride. But now that we have won that siege, we are going to turn our forces north. Maybe go after the army of Flanders, whilst also now looking to find another call to war. We've got another one here, Upper Burgundian claim. All right, we'll accept that as well. Looks like we're just defending our wife's kingdom, or queendom, one after another. It looks like the Flandering army is leaving, but they will not get away from us in the field. And this will be a quick victory. Indeed. Very, very nice. And well done. So that Liberty War is gone because we captured him. And now we are still dealing with this. So how about we send our army up north and try to take care of this Duchy of the Champagne's army in the meantime. Okay, they're going to break off the siege. See if we can meet them here. Nope, they have won that siege, but I don't think they're going to get out of the province in time, or the county in time, and possibly we can destroy them in the meantime. We also have a few other decisions up here we need to take care of, and victory has been won. All right, so I'm going to hit pause here real quick, and we will now unlock sappers. So spearman siege progress goes up, archer siege progress, skirmisher, and heavy infantry as well. Now we're going to turn our attention to finding a suitable bride for our son and heir, Prince Henry. So here we have found one, the Infanta Dolce Raimundish of Portugal. So an alliance with the Kingdom of Portugal. She's also pretty, she's generous, and just. This would be a good one. Now, she's only 13, so she's still a few years away from this actually, from the marriage taking place. But we're going to do it. Henry gains 200 prestige, and she gains 300. And we will send that proposal there. Now, the next war, where are the Burgundians? The Burgundians are down south, so I'm not going to worry about that siege. Instead, we are going to send our troops all the way down here to take on the army of Upper Burgundy. And there's our alliance confirmation and victory in that war. Fantastic. And now we will clean up the Burgundians as well, who are not breaking off the siege. The French army is coming around this way, and it looks like we will engage in the field. They will not. Will they get out of the county in time? They will not. Oh, here comes a large Saxon host, but they're heading down south, so they will not get there in time. And that's a good victory for us there. Now, let's take a quick look and see where things lie here. So they have 12,000. We have 15,000. We can send our troops south towards the Saxons. We're going to move in here first and recapture something. Independence demand. It is time for you to recognize the full independence of Brittany. No, I will not be threatened. We will rally the troops. So we have desertion as part of the deal here. But we will, of course, call in our allies. So against the Independence War, we will call in both Portugal and Aragon. I was going to say Aragorn, but we won't. We're bleeding money right now. So we will look at our prisoners, and we've got a few here we could ransom for money, but we are bleeding money during this war, but hopefully the war will be resolved soon. We can see, look at how ugly that is. Look at how ugly that is. But bringing in, so we've got 5,600 here, 3,900 there, 2,400 here. But Aragon and Portugal will definitely help. We could probably call in our wife. She will accept as well to fight in that war. Now, we're still dealing with the Burgundians, but part of me just kind of wants to go, yeah, screw the Burgundians. They can have their independence. We are focused on making sure the Bretons don't get theirs. But this will be resolved. This messy business here in France will be resolved in the next episode. If you enjoy this, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new, not to miss anything. And I do have a question for you. Moving forward with kind of Let's Play content, if I decide to continue to do that, which I probably will, whether it's Crusader Kings 3 or any other games that I am looking at right now to do some Let's Plays with, do you prefer these kind of more long-form videos where, you know, the episodes are a little bit on the longer side, or more kind of just truncated, short recaps and summaries of what happened with a little bit of voiceover? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Until next time, I'm Realm Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon.